The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
Well, the Communicators is on Capitol Hill, where the Consumer Electronics Association is sponsoring CES on the Hill, showing some technology to members of Congress and staff. And we are joined by Mark Bowles of EcoATM. Mr. Bowles, what is this machine that we're looking at here?
This is the EcoATM. This will evaluate automatically your used electronics and then pay you cash on the spot for them.
So is it a recycler?
It recycles the phones and it resells them. We take them and resell them to channels that may use them as a phone, not just to recycle the materials. So we do a little bit of both.
And is this your invention?
It is.
And how did you come up with the idea?
A bunch of other people helped me, but
right.
Yes.
But how did you come up with the idea?
I was actually reading a survey that Nokia did in the summer 2008 that basically said that only 3% of people worldwide were recycling their phones. There was about 1 billion phones shipped that year. I'm like, what happens to the rest of the 990 whatever million that is? And did the classic me search. Why don't I do it? It's because I didn't know where to do it. I wasn't incentivized, and so I developed this idea. I thought if I put it right in consumers' path, at the grocery store or at the mall, and paid them what these things are worth, they're worth a lot of money, that I could inspire mass participation in it, and it's working.
What is your background?
I am, this is my 6th venture-backed startup, so I have the entrepreneurial disease, and I can't help myself.
Have you been successful?
I've been successful 3 times in a couple of big smoking holes in the ground, but nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Well, Mr. Bowles, if you would walk us through and demonstrate how this EcoATM works.
All right, sure. So this would be in retail location, and you would bring your old devices. I got a broken iPhone here, so you would walk up and start.
I can help you price your device.
And he'll do a lot of the talking here.
Okay.
So we can do tablets, cell phones, MP3 players.
Do you have the device with you?
We happen to have it with. If it didn't, you could look it up and see. But we have it with us, so it will automatically.
EcoATM protects the environment and your local community. To sell a device, you must be 18 years of age, present a valid government-issued photo ID, and provide a thumbprint. Your ID will be verified remotely by a human, and your device will be matched against a stolen device database. We work closely with law enforcement to pursue criminal.
So we make sure there are no bad guys use this for nefarious purposes.
Right. So when you insert your license, what happens?
So what happens is there's actually people back in headquarters actually looking at it.
In San Diego?
In San Diego. And they see an image of the driver's license. We run a bunch of software on the holograms to make sure it's a good ID. And then a person compares to see if it's valid, compares to see if it's the same person, and so forth. If it is, we let the transaction go forward.
Okay. So you've been cleared.
I've been
by
cleared.
Your folks
they know
in San
me.
Diego.
They know me. So my phone will, this would us power up, so I'll say yes.
Remove any stickers, cases, or straps from it. Take
Okay.
the sticker I just
So now this
printed,
sticker, we
stick it
ask you to put this
on the
on
back
to
of your
track.
device. Don't worry, this sticker is easy to peel off.
And then we go to the next step. Now this opens up. We put it in.
Place
Are these in operation yet?
We have about 400, a little over 400 now in 25 different states. We're placing them at the rate of about 3 per day.
EcoATM gives a second life.
Where are
So
they
it-
made?
Right there in San Diego.
We responsibly recycle the other devices to
So now the machine vision and artificial intelligence system is looking at the device, trying to determine what it
6
is.
billion mobile phones
Christina?
worldwide. That is nearly 86% of the world's population.
And it's looking through all the different phones, right? And
It's,
that was an
it's
iPhone?
about 4,000 different phones. Almost every phone ever made, we've trained.
Okay.
So iPhone 5, it got it right, even though it was all smashed up.
The range of prices shown.
It gives you a range. It's not sure yet because it hasn't done a full inspection. So we're going to say, yes, let's go forward.
Okay. So is it, I notice the prices range from very good at $237.
It hasn't done all the full tests yet to know if it's what the value is completely. It just knows
Okay.
what it is.
Now
so
it's
now
opening it up.
it's spun around to the right cable for the iPhone 5.
Oh.
So now it's going to do an electrical inspection to complete the process.
And will it be able to tell that that screen is completely smashed?
It will. That's the next
Please
step.
make sure your phone is on and enter *#06.
Why do you want to enter that number?
Because that's going to show us the serial number. We want to get the serial number on as many devices as we can, so that we know if someone gets a phone stolen, and if they're dumb enough, the criminal's dumb enough to sell it here, then we can match the serial number if you report it and get your phone back to you. Doesn't happen very often, but when it does, we give them back for free.
Mark Bowles, are all phones registered individually to owners so that your license is matched to your phone serial number?
It's not matched to the license, but the serial number is matched to the phone, and the carrier, your carrier knows your serial number and knows who you are. So if it's stolen, you report that number. So this one is all smashed up, so it's only $87.
But even with that smashed screen, it's still $87.
Yes. So then we're going to sell it.
Please check the boxes to agree to the terms.
We're saying we're at least 18, that it's ours to sell, so on and so forth, terms and conditions.
Place and hold your
And now
phone
we
through the
require a
scanner
thumbprint
finish.
to do this.
I cannot return your device after this step.
So we get a thumbprint.
Please sign the box using your finger if you want to sell your device. Okay, this is the last step to sell your device. Once you press continue, I will not be able to return your device.
Okay, let's sell it.
Give me just a moment while I finish processing this device.
Mark Bowles, what in the phone is valuable? What makes it $87 worth?
You know, that phone is probably going to be refurbished. They're going to take the glass off, fix whatever else is there, probably replace the battery, and then sell it as a refurbished phone. It'll probably end up as an insurance replacement. About 90 million people have mobile phone insurance, and if you break it and you file a claim, they usually don't send you a brand new one from Apple. They'll send you a refurbished one. If you have a warranty and it breaks, they usually send you one of these. So there's a nice market for broken, new model used phones here, just domestic.
What if that phone were completely...
Perfect?
No, completely broken. Does it get recycled?
Yes, if it's completely broken, and about 40% or so of what we collect has no secondary market. Nobody wants it anymore. So what happens with those is that they get broken down and then ultimately get smelted to reclaim the gold, platinum, palladium, silver, copper, and the precious metals, so that you don't have to mine those out of the earth. And that gold, there's about $1 worth of precious metal in each phone, and that ends up back in the cycle to make a new phone, so that you don't have to get that out of the earth.
What's the next step?
Well, if you had a bunch of phones in the drawer, you could build a cart and sell some more. We're going to check out with this one phone, and then at this point we offer you
A portion of your money to charity.
option to donate to charity. We're going to do the Wounded Warriors product, and we're going to give them $20 and keep the rest for ourselves. And so now 100% of that $20, we don't keep any of it. That goes to the charity. And then we try to get your email. We're going to say no thanks. And then it counts out money.
And why do you ask for the email?
Marketing purposes. We want to keep talking to you. And then...
So, Mark Bowles, if you had left personal information, your contacts, photos, on that phone you just recycled, what happens to those? Are those out in the...
It gets recycled. I mean, it gets erased as part of the process.
Eco ATM, your company does
Yeah,
that?
we're certified to a standard called R2, Responsible Recycling. That's the industry standard that governs e-waste collectors and recyclers. And so we're certified to that in ISO 14001. And those require data erase and downstream audits and all that of the whole process. So it does get erased. We encourage you, whether you sell to us or to anybody else, always erase your data yourself, period. It's just a good idea.
Mark Bowles, so you've got your money.
Yes.
And then you move on.
And then you move on. You go spend it in the store.
Mark Bowles is the founder of Eco ATM. This is the Communicators on Capitol Hill. Jeff Pothel is from Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's formed a company called Dock and Lock. He's up here on Capitol Hill, part of CES on the Hill. Mr. Pothel, what is Dock and Lock?
Well, Peter, Dock and Lock, we're a brand new startup company with one mission, and that's to prevent distracted driving accidents that are caused by cell phones. So we've taken a very simple approach to it. We believe that the cell phone should be locked away while the vehicle is being driven. So what we have here is our first generation product, and essentially it works very similar to a breathalyzer. So in order to start the vehicle, the phone literally has to be docked and locked in our system in order to start the car. So when the phone,
you physically put the phone away.
You physically put the phone, it physically locks it away, and it's going to look to see if it's an authorized device. As you see here, the green light shows it's an authorized device. So what does that mean? That means that that phone has a smart tag on it. So part of our technology is this smart tag that we develop that actually communicates to the locker. The locker reads that smart tag. Now the key to the system being tamper-proof is that tag is wear-resistant, it's weather-resistant, but it's also tamper-proof in that if the tag was to be removed from the phone, it would disable the chip in the tag, it wouldn't be read by the system, you wouldn't be able to start your car. So that's how we have a tamper-proof system for any teen driver that's on the road today, or any other driver that's on the road today for that matter. So once the phone is actually docked and locked, it's been authorized, you're going to be able to start the vehicle. Now the key to the safety of the system is that while the vehicle is being driven, you no longer have the physical distraction of the phone, you no longer have the visual distraction of the phone, and we remove the cognitive distractions of the phone. So those are the three distractions that are causing, all these accidents that are on the road today. Over 1 million accidents last year, 5,000 deaths. The numbers keep growing, they keep coming in. And, we took a very proactive approach and want to change driver behavior.
Mr. Pothole, what if people have technology in their car where they can talk via their vehicle so they don't have to
Absolutely, it's a great point. So we have two versions of the product. One that actually shields that kind of connectivity. So if a parent chooses they don't want their child to have any access to the phone at all while the vehicle is being driven, so they're focused 100% on the road, we have one version of the product that can satisfy that. The other version of the product is one that's Bluetooth friendly. So simply locking the phone away removes the physical distraction, the visual distraction, but allows that connectivity through the car. So you'd have access through the media, through your music. You'd have access to your contacts, all through the integration of the vehicle itself.
Who developed this product?
Actually, the concept, the inception came from my father, Ron. He was a safety manager for 36 years for Verizon. It was about 5 years ago, back in 2008. Fast forward a few months from when he had the idea, my sister just got her driver's license, 17 at the time, up in Connecticut. There was no laws really against texting and driving, or if there were laws, they were very hard to enforce. So unfortunately, she got into an accident caused by texting and driving. She was very lucky not to be injured, but that was the catalyst to really propel the idea from going from just an idea on paper to actually creating a product that we could sell and deliver to parents like my father who have teenage drivers on the road today.
Is Dock and Lock on the market?
We're not on the market yet. We're in the final development stage, and we'll be going to market this fall. So we're looking to really have a product available for a back-to-school campaign and be able to deliver this to parents.
Many people have multiple phones or tablets. Do you have a system for those as well?
Right now, no. Right now, we're looking at the one phone. So looking at typically what teenagers have, it's a phone that a parent bought for them. And will some parents have, or other types of drivers have multiple phones? That is something that is actually we look at in the trucking industry. So companies that have truck drivers, these fleets, they have company-issued phones and they have personal phones. So that's always a challenge, to manage those multiple devices. But what we can assure is that, one device, one distraction, especially those personal phones that a company has no way to manage up till now, that we can actually manage that personal phone and lock it away safely.
Have you had any interest from the car companies in installing these in the factory?
Well, we were at the CES show, we were at Eureka Park, we had a few of the OEMs circle around us, so we'll see what happens.
Jeff Pothole, Dock and Lock is the name of the company and the product. Jennifer Kuhn is with the AT&T Corporation. She's up here on Capitol Hill demonstrating a new product. Ms. Kuhn, what are we seeing?
So what we have here is we have our It Can Wait campaign, which is our campaign to draw education against the dangers of texting and driving. Our goal is to stop texting and driving. No text is worth your life. So what we've done in this campaign, which we launched in about 2009, 2010, is we've created this online simulator that we actually bring to high schools and events across the country. And we're trying to bring the message home in a very safe environment of how difficult and dangerous it is to text and drive. So the campaign...
This young woman here is on the simulator?
She is indeed. She is indeed. She's on the simulator. So what she's doing is she's having sort of a virtual reality experience of driving through any city USA. And she's having to obey the speed limit, obey the traffic signals, deal with the variables that happen in any driving situation, whether it's a car coming out of their lane or a car or traffic cones. And while she's doing that, she's getting texts sent to her, and she's being forced to reply to the text. Not forced, but obviously she's being compelled to reply to them. So what this is driving home is that as good as you think you are at it, you're not. Because what you're seeing here is what you don't see when you're behind the wheel. When you're behind the wheel, you're maybe not seeing yourself swerve all around, but here you are. So we built some little tricks into here. For instance, you can't go too slow. So for people who want to crawl along and do it safely, they can't do it. So if you go too slow, you get dinged. If you go too fast, you get dinged. If you blow through a light, you get dinged. But it's a really fun way of talking about a really serious subject.
Jennifer Kuhn, who are the biggest violators of the driving and texting? Is it older people, younger people, men, women? Do we know?
You know, I think it's a problem with everyone. I mean, we've focused our campaign on teenagers because statistically they're more at risk. They're new drivers and they text more than we do, adults. But you know, we just did a study with commuters, and we found that commuters were admitting to, I'm in traffic an hour a day and I'm doing it at stoplights, or I'm doing it more than I used to. I'm finding that I have to. So I don't really think that you can say that there's one greater perpetrator of it. I think it's really something that all of us in society are victim of and guilty of on occasion. So what we're doing is, even though we're focusing on teens, we're really trying to reach out through all of our networks, whether it's working through our 5,000 stores across the country, whether it's working with our 240,000 employees, but really most importantly, partnering with companies and nonprofits and other institutions to try and get the message out as much as possible that no text is worth the life.
What's the current status of state laws against texting and driving?
So right now, 39 states and District of Columbia have laws. And they are, and I right now that could be changing with the remainder of states, but there's a vast majority of states that have passed some sort of law against texting and driving of varying degrees.
We're up here on Capitol Hill. What's the reaction of members of Congress to this demonstrator?
You know, they've had a lot of fun with it. We've had a few members come in and sit down and try their hand at it, which has been really interesting. And you know, we've had a really fantastic response from members of Congress and state elected officials who see the danger of this and who want to be part of the educational effort. So it's been really important. We had several hundred states and cities actually issue proclamations calling for Text and Driving Awareness Day and such. So we've been really happy with the response from the elected officials and playing with it.
Jennifer Kuhn is with the AT&T Corporation. This is their demonstrator on No Text on Board. And you're watching the Communicators on C-SPAN. We want to introduce you to Blake Hall. He is with a group called Troop ID. Before we find out what Troop ID is, Mr. Hall, give us your background.
Sure. As a third-generation soldier, grew up in a military family. 9/11 happened. I was in Vanderbilt University's ROTC program. Decided I wanted to be an airborne ranger. Ultimately ended up leading a scout sniper platoon in Iraq for 15 months from July of 06 to September 07, hunting high-value targets. Had a wonderful group of guys, and we were taking apart some of the vehicle bomb networks over there that were affiliated with Al-Qaeda. When I was getting out, had a commander that refused to write me a letter of recommendation unless I applied to Harvard Business School. I told him he was crazy, that I hadn't used the 3-syllable word in the last month, but he said a deal's a deal, and ended up at Harvard Business, where I met my co-founder, who's also a Ranger, and ultimately founded Troop ID together.
Well, first of all, did you graduate from Harvard Business School?
I did. I managed to finish it, and I did all right too. So I guess he saw something that I didn't.
All right. After that, what is Troop ID, and how did the idea come about?
Sure. So we noticed in 2009 that brands were trying to give different benefits to service members and veterans, but Microsoft was giving away free e-learning vouchers to veterans, but in order to claim it, the veteran had to bring physical paperwork that verified their service to a Department of Labor office to claim an e-learning voucher. So, we went to them and said, doesn't that defeat the entire point of an e-learning voucher? And talked to Under Armour, who's offering 10% off in store, but not online.
For vets.
For service members and veterans, correct? And said, why aren't you using your digital channels to deliver these programs? And the consistent refrain we heard was, we would love to, but we don't have a way to verify the credentials of a customer who's on our website or on our mobile app. And once we understood that verification was what was preventing a channel from forming between brands and the military, I think it was Bed Bath & Beyond's team said, look, if I put a tick box in my checkout flow that says save 10% off if you're military, then all of a sudden magically like half of my customers will have claimed to have served. So when we understood that was a problem, we basically developed relationships with government agencies on the back end, with a Fortune 100 financial institution that had the authoritative data on service, the net effect of which is that we can verify anybody who's served in the military from 1950 until present. And on the front end, we built a product that works a lot like PayPal, except instead of tying a bank account or a credit card to an email and password, we tie a verified attribute of your identity, in this case your military service, to your email and password, so that as you're accessing discounts across a network, you can rapidly authenticate your credential. So, some of the stuff that we got up right here, this is overstock.com. They give 5% off and free shipping to current and former service members. So we power Overstock's program for them.
And right here is the small ID that says?
That's correct. Get started with Troop ID. So just like you would see, a PayPal or a Facebook Connect logo, it's the exact same process. So once you've created your account, you can go ahead and verify. We also power programs for Under Armour. I'm blocked from getting up there right now, but if a service member or veteran is just shopping on UnderArmour.com, they're going to see the military discount with Troop ID. It's a free service to service members and to veterans, and they can rapidly, go ahead and log in and claim that 10% off by clicking on that button.
All right, I think this is backwards. There we go.
There you go.
So if you click on Verify Military Status, what pops up?
So there you go.
Okay.
So if you got the account, you literally just log in with your credentials, and you can go ahead and verify your status. I mean, I'd be happy to show you.
So you've signed up for this, obviously.
Yeah.
As CEO. Do you charge a fee for people to join?
Always free to the users. So we think that service members and veterans have earned their benefits by virtue of their service in the military. The brands pay us a fee to make sure that the programs are protected from fraud.
Are there privacy concerns with this product?
Well, privacy always plays a very central component whenever you talk about identity. Our stance is very aggressive in that we consider the information to always be the property of the user. And what that means is that when Under Armour wants access to information, it's the user's decision always on whether or not they want to share that information with the marketer in exchange for the discount. So, if we say, hey, Under Armour wants your name, your email, and your military status, they're not going to opt you into a marketing list, but that's what they want in exchange for the 10% off. It's totally up to you to decide whether or not you want to give permission for them to have that or not. And we think, that's really the future of what the web should be. The web is kind of a seedy place. Like, sites track you, they stalk you, they try to figure out what you're buying, who you are, they sell your data back and forth. Our contract is much different. We will never sell, release, or otherwise transfer information to a third party unless we are just auditing your identity, so not for commercial purposes. And on the front end, the only time your data is released is when you have given explicit permission for that data to go to the other brand. And if you change your mind later, you can log in and you can revoke access for that particular brand to have access to your information. So we're really turning what is, right now everybody's trying to guess who you are, and we're just saying, just have a normal interaction like people. Let a marketer come up to a user and say, hey Peter, I'm willing to give you a benefit if you're willing to tell me a little bit about who you are, and it's up to you, Peter, to decide whether or not you want to do that.
So Blake Hall, where's the business model? Where's the profit? Where do you make your money?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that we monetize. We monetize on a transactional basis every time we verify that particular identity attribute because we're protecting the program from fraud. We open up new channel opportunities. So the different brands, if we're able to drive traffic back through these programs that we protect, they are willing to give us a commission on the actual program. And then the third component, identity and payments are very closely linked. So we basically have an affinity group in the military that has a really strong incentive to use our services in order to authenticate on the checkout. And if you combine payment processing relationships, and we're talking with a few payment processors about riding their rails, they would basically pay us a percentage of the payment fee because they would become the preferred checkout solution of choice once their payments are tied to a 10% off discount.
Are you working with the Veterans Administration at all?
We're integrated into the Department of Veterans Affairs Innovation Center. We protect programs. Right now, for some of the membership programs and training programs the VA funds, they were requiring veterans to show their DD-214 to the vendor or to email it in. But the problem with that is that the DD-214's got your name, your social, your address, even your blood type, everything that a bad guy would need to steal your identity if there was a break-in at the vendor, if you lost your paperwork on the way to the actual office. And so what we do is we fundamentally change that by just giving the vendor what they need to know, which is, yes, this person is eligible for the program and the VA is going to pay you, or no, they're not. And in order to become eligible, they need to pass certain criteria if they are in fact military. But it becomes a much more secure process with us involved. And part of the thing that motivates us, we realize veterans are at elevated risk of identity theft because the only ubiquitous form of credentials for about 90% of the veterans is their DD-214. And it's a little bit like carrying your birth certificate around with you. The only federally issued ID cards that veterans have go to retirees who have served 20 years or more or been medically retired. So for guys like Matt who have served for 12 years, for guys like me who have served for 7.5 years, we're at a disadvantage when it comes to proving our identity unless we pull out our Facebook photo album and show them pictures. Here I am in Saddam's palace or things like that.
Blake Hall, how many members?
We have over 140,000 members. We launched this API with Under Armour, Veterans Affairs, and Telluride Ski Resort on November 12th of last year. Signed up 48,000 new members between November 12th and December 31st. We recently had Overstock and Tough Mudder integrated into the program, and right now we've got 10 or 11 Fortune 500s and National Telecom, National Airline on the integration schedule. So we think we're on a trajectory to hit somewhere between 1.5 to 3 million users. I know that's a big delta, but we're talking to some of the biggest names in e-com.
Blake Hall is the CEO of Troop ID. TroopID.com is the website.
Thank you very much.
C-SPAN,